Welcome to episode number 334, where I speak with my client Linda, who is a body-oriented psychotherapist, about her cleansing journey with Ayurveda. She talks about how it was both a physical and emotional cleanse, and also how this cleanse helps her in her own work. So please stay tuned. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Kerala Ayurveda. Do you wish to learn holistic lifestyle habits to maintain your well-being and create positive shifts in your life? Kerala Ayurveda Academy welcomes you to upgrade your lifestyle, align with nature, and inspire others to do the same. Courses are available for beginners as well as advanced learners and professionals, both online and in person in the beautiful Bay Area, California. Beginner certifications start April 9th, and it's not too late to join. For $100 off tuition on the spring trainings, use the code ELEMENTS when you apply or register. To learn more, visit keralaayurveda.us/courses, and you'll find that link in the show notes. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today, I'm very happy to welcome a client of mine who kindly took the time today to share her journey with Ayurveda, and her name is Linda. Linda, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me, Colette.
Linda, as I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us. And I'd love to start with, if you could tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and so on.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Linda. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a body-oriented psychotherapist and specialized in developmental trauma, which I also teach about. I have my practice at home and I teach all over in Holland and also in Europe. What else?
I'm fascinated with your work. Tell me a little bit more about your work.
Well, for me, it's a combination, especially the combination that I really like, seeing clients one-to-one, really working on developmental trauma, recovering from developmental trauma, which obviously has a lot to do with old attachment patterns, the adaptations that people took from there into their adult lives, and how they then in a way get stuck in those patterns and they're not serving them anymore. So what I love about it is it's a collaboration, is that we really do this exploration together to see how the old adaptations are getting in the way for people, what it actually is that they wish for themselves, usually to reconnect to themselves, to be their most authentic selves in a way, and bringing that knowledge also to companies, to healthcare organizations, to schools, to get a more trauma-informed society, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, it's fascinating work because I see this a lot with my clients who have, during childhood, if their needs weren't met, right? If they weren't feeling nurtured or loved, that, as you said, you will change your way of being in the world in order to get your needs met. And a child will do that without consciously knowing what they're doing. But then our mind or our brain or our body doesn't reevaluate and be like, oh, okay, I don't need those adaptations anymore. And so you continue through your life with this way of being in the world in order to get your needs met. However, they may not be serving you now as an adult, but we're still acting the way we did as a child in order to get our needs met, right?
Yeah.
And so it can really have harmful effect.
And it's not easy to change that, because the moment that you, even though it is something you really want for yourself, but the moment you even consider changing that and go against the old identifications, the old beliefs that you have for yourself. You again get in touch with basically the fear of the loss of the attachment relationship, the fear of the loss of love, which our whole nervous system reacts to bottom up with anxiety, with fear. Yeah. And then we usually go back to the habitual patterns.
Yeah, because it's like a safe space for us.
It is. Well, yeah, safe. At least it's familiar.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's not exactly safe or serving us, but it feels, what's habitual feels safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's fascinating and wonderful work you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think just people understanding this and having more awareness around this is huge. So great work.
Yeah. I think especially in the time that we're living in the moment.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And when we're all seeking that connection, and oftentimes we have that journey starts with a connection to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you've been doing this work, and how did you discover Ayurveda? Where did Ayurveda come into your journey?
Fairly recently, actually, when I was thinking about that. It was only just before, a few weeks before that we actually got in touch.
That was in January. Sorry to interrupt you, right? Yeah. In January this year, the end of January, we got in touch.
So that's fairly recently.
Yes.
I think unconsciously I've known or heard about Ayurveda before, but it had never resonated on the same level as it did now. And I was looking for some resources. So I stumbled onto your podcast and I listened to a few, but this was the one that for me somehow really resonated. And then I heard you talking about the cleanse, so I got curious. And for me, it really spoke to, doing a dosha test online. And it was so funny because I had a completely different constellation that I thought I would have. So right. that was interesting. But it was more the feeling that there's information out there that could help me on a different level to take care of myself in a different way, because that has been a lifelong journey already with all the symptoms that I've had.
Right. Yeah. I recall that now, that you, with your dosha quiz, you had a perception that you were a different constitution type. And then, to revise a little bit, we had the 15-minute call just to chit chat in January. And then you decided, okay, I want to do the cleanse, right? That resonated with you, the Digestive Reset Cleanse. And in February, so it was really quick, we did the 90-minute consult. And that's when, we determined your birth constitution there. And then you were already like, whoa, I'm a different constitution to what I thought I was.
My thought would have been kapha all the way. And that was the opposite of that.
Right. Yes. You're very, very vata. Absolutely. And so tell me about why you wanted to do the cleanse.
Yeah. I think maybe even why I wanted to do the cleanse, I think my body maybe answered that before I actually consciously answered that. Somehow it felt I needed to do that. And it also went together with an open space in my calendar somehow that made it possible to schedule it then, which we also kind of figured out together that the private cleanse would be more beneficial than the group cleanse, because that would have interfered with some of my work. And I think it felt as I was looking for something like a reset or something. As I said, I was struggling with some symptoms and I couldn't find a way out or a way through. And I think I hoped for this Ayurvedic journey to give me some tools or guidance, to relate to that to relate to myself in a different way.
Yeah. I remember you saying when you heard about the cleanse, it really resonated with you. Like you really felt, okay, this is what I need. And so can you tell us a little bit about that journey through the consultation and through the cleanse? What was your experience?
Yeah. What I really appreciated was the 90-minute consult that we did. Also from your perspective, like really taking the time and exploring it on so many different levels. So that holistic perspective. And what I already noticed in that when obviously sharing all my symptoms and my challenges and things that I've been working through, and I've done a lot of personal work on different levels. I've done like more the regular medicine stuff, but also the alternative stuff. But there were a few moments that I can still recall that I heard you naming things and I could feel it resonate on such a deep level, kind of knowing, okay, this feels right for me now. Also the curiosity, because I do like to learn new things. So that was helpful. But then just in a way giving me guidance to how to do this and how to open up the space for that. And what felt really important was it's not just about the food. That's how I would phrase it. Also to take in consideration the emotional process that would go together with that. And it did. So that was something on its own.
And I know throughout the cleanse, we were in touch a lot because there were some shifts and changes to be made. And like I said, like in your work, you're holding space for people, you're working with a lot of energy. You're very sensitive to energy, as we discovered as well. And so we were really making adaptations along the way because there was quite a lot of very subtle imbalances going on, and there was some vata and some pitta, and we were there was a dance between the two. So we were really working closely together throughout the cleanse, as I do with every client, and really making changes along the way because that was necessary. Your body was fluctuating a lot, right?
Yes, and I felt those shifts, and even in the beginning of the cleanse, there was some anxiety around the increase of some of the symptoms that I've not really experienced before. So also people around me going, okay, should you really do this? Is this going to be helpful for you? But still trusting that internally it felt that way. And there, on that part, it was so helpful to have you close by in a way, being able to reach out and get a response, and then do the make some differentiations also in the cleanse, because it felt like, okay, I can do something to make this feel better. Or
and it also, I think it empowers you to, as I say, become your own healer, because by you're learning through the process, you're feeling the shifts in your body, but I'll give you advice, and then by doing these changes, you're saying, oh, okay, so I can manage this, and I'm empowering you with the education, and that's my objective, is so that you'll feel empowered to take care of yourself going forward and understanding what's going on, because there's nothing worse than feeling there's something happening in our body and it's out of control, because I know you were feeling at some point like, what is going on? I'm feeling the sensations in my body and it feels like it's out of my control, right?
And then there's especially the tendency then to react to that from more what I know from before, instead of trusting the process and moving through that.
Yeah. And you really, were great in trusting the process, and you were seeing then improvements along the way, right? That you were seeing, this is by making these shifts and changes and committing to the process, you were seeing these shifts and these positive reactions along the way.
Yes, during the process, I could really sense that I was able to be a lot more like in the here and now. That my internal pace got slower and slower. And it felt at first that I don't have as much energy as I usually have. But then I was able to kind of relabel that, because it wasn't less energy. It was just that the pace was slower. So basically there was more energy, but it wasn't this frantic or this, pitta energy, you would probably say.
Yeah, and that vata, we're grounding vata in the process, right? So
True.
that frantic vata energy, and it's a lot of people can feel that as the natural way they run, and that often happens during a cleanse. Is like, oh, So this is what a balanced Vata feels like, because it's so normal to have that Vata engine running on constant and high energy all the time, and that nervous energy as being the backdrop day in, day out. And you don't even realize it until you feel the groundedness of Vata during a cleanse like this, where it's holistic and it takes time to really ground you and to calm things down. So it's great that you got to feel that calming energy. And I know that, you know, you were seeing some manifestations on the skin and so on. And that was pacified, because that was a big concern. Obviously, you were feeling that in the morning when you wake up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that has actually been a concern over quite a few years. I had a lot of gut issues before, and somehow that had transformed more towards skin problems. So for me, that felt as an improvement, because it wasn't going inwards as much. It was more moving to my extremities. And then there's this hope, this secret hope that it could actually move out of my system. And since the cleanse, and it got worse first, so that's what was also the part that worried me. But since the cleanse, I haven't had this really sense of heat in my body, and the rash that I experienced before. And that's still something that, okay, can I start to trust that actually worked?
Yeah. Because you were having this big manifestation. Sometimes after food, in the morning, waking up, and it was really all over your body, and it was obviously concerning, and it was affecting you physically, emotionally, and so on. That was wonderful. That cleared out. But we know in Ayurveda that this manifestation of heat can be a physical manifestation of pitta, but also it can be due to emotions as well, manifesting on the skin. As Ayurveda says, emotions can reflect on the skin. So it's wonderful that, you know, that all that cleared out. And so how did you feel then post-cleanse, after the cleanse?
Well, one of the first things that kind of surprised me, because I actually went to my GP just before, because I thought I was premenopausal, and it actually made a huge impact on my menstrual cycle. It just kind of normalized again, and that's different. That feels different on several levels. Something else that for me really surprised me in a way was the clarity that I experienced, the clarity in not just on a cognitive level, but also more on a physical and emotional level, and how much more attentive I could be to really tune into what is serving me and what's not serving me, and then make a decision from there.
Yes.
So it's a different place from where I could approach things, instead of overthinking it, or but just checking in more in the here and now.
Yeah, that's huge. And often when I have clients who are in a place where they're feeling a lot of disruption in their life, you know, and they want to go through the cleanse, I was like, okay, put all that on hold until you go through the cleanse. Focus on yourself, focus on bring your body into a place of calm, and particularly your mind. And oftentimes when we heal the gut, when we do a reset, it heals mostly everything else in the body, right? Because it has an impact on all the other tissues and systems of the body. Everything, starts with our digestive system, as Ayurveda tells us. And so cleanse first, and then make decisions afterwards from a place of clarity, when you're feeling grounded, rather than in this state where you're feeling unbalanced and things are a little bit hazy or foggy and everything feels a little off. That it's really worth taking the time to ground, reset, balance, and then make a more informed, calm decision from that place, rather than a place of confusion, which is huge.
Which is obviously then also impacting the way or the place from where I'm meeting my clients.
I'm going to jump in here, because if you're interested in doing your own digestive reset cleanse, well, I have my next group cleanse, the spring cleanse, coming up April 19th. This is a group cleanse. However, it comes with a 90-minute online consultation with me, so that I can tailor the cleanse, the recipes, the mindfulness, the self-care to you and your lifestyle. And then we go through the cleanse in a group format where we have a private community and we'll give each other support and lots of accountability there. This is a holistic cleanse. And so it's a really great opportunity to physically, mentally, emotionally cleanse any toxins from your body and feel light and clear and energetic going into spring season. Now, if that group date of April 19th does not work for your schedule, then check out my private cleanse. The private cleanse is the same structure, but it means that you get to choose dates that work for your calendar and you have me one-on-one for support. I'll put the link in the show notes, or you could just go to my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for the group event, go to the events page. And for the private cleanse, go to the programs page. And I hope to connect with you very soon. How has Ayurveda, we've heard how it's impacted you, but how has it impacted your work then?
What I noticed the most is because there's so much more clarity internally and it's slower, that already the work that I do with in this exploration with clients asks for a slower pace, because it's a phenomenological approach. So you really want to take it moment by moment and see what emerges. But now from this place, I can even more take in what a client is saying or expressing, see how that lands in me, and use that to inform me for my next response. So there's also then more clarity and less fogginess maybe even, or less noise when it comes to how do I react to what my client is saying. So it gives me the option to see and maybe even more sense what are the patterns that they might be stuck in, and what does it need to get to a corrective relational experience.
I love that. And, when you said less noise, because for you, you have a Pitta Vata constitution, and sometimes that Vata was creating that noise that you talked about. And you, like you said, post-cleanse, you felt that sense of calmness. And particularly for Vata has this ability, because it's such a subtle energy, is to connect to those intuitive realms, right? To connect to the more subtle energies. And so when you're working with clients and you're feeling grounded, that you can connect to more of that guidance coming through as well. Do you feel that in your work?
Yeah, and from me internally in me, but also what's coming up in the client. And as you said, using that intuition to then check with them whether that feels right, or whether that also resonates for the client, but to really bring that into awareness.
Yeah. And isn't that the best feeling?
It is.
Isn't it like magical when I feel that in a session that something comes in and, out of left field, and it's your intuition because you weren't thinking about that. And then you share that with a client and it resonates with them. It feels like something else is guiding the work. And I think that feels like magic, and especially when you can use that gift that you have to help others is amazing.
Yeah. When that goes together with someone then in the moment sort of reconnecting to themselves more, it's almost this sort of sacred something.
Honestly, it gives me goosebumps when you say that. Yeah. And that's when when you're in that flow. And Vata is all about the skill or the beautiful essence of Vata is being in the flow. So like you said, when it's flowing from you, from your guidance, from your groundedness through to the client, it's resonating with them. And it's like this infinity loop of, connecting with them. And then you're feeling like you're being of service. So it's fulfilling you and it's fulfilling your client as well. It's a beautiful thing and a beautiful work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you.
It's great. It's like a wonderful systems feedback loop. You're getting, fulfilled from it, and your client has been healed. And I see this, I'm visualizing this infinity symbol, like it's just a flow of energy.
That's even how I sometimes experience it, is that obviously all the work that I'm doing, and I need to invest in that to be able to do that. So doing the work makes me able to invest in my process, and then my clients can actually benefit from me growing and developing, because I can actually then bring that back to the work I do with them. So there's already
100%.
this loop.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point you make. And I know I have to remind myself of this sometimes, is investing in our own healing, because for us who work in the healing space, it can be hard to heal ourselves, right? We need support. We need professional support as well. And making sure that we're taking time to invest in that, because not only is it healing for ourselves, but also we're growing, and then we can bring that growth and that education and what we've learned into our work as well. And that's really important. It's all about, as we say, filling up our cup first, and we've talked about that a lot, right?
Yes.
Is making sure. And tell me about, I know your how you fill up your cup. Mm-hmm. I know particularly we talked about your morning routines and so on.
Yeah. And that's something that still surprises me, because I can still hear you saying, well, getting up earlier in the morning than you're used to. Okay, I could probably do a little earlier, and then I got 6:30. So I can still feel okay. But if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. So that was a helpful place to start with. But actually, now when I don't set an alarm, I actually wake up somewhere between 6 and 6:30, and I'm in bed. Well, lights out at 10 was the assignment. So then I apparently am done sleeping somewhere between 6 and 6:30. Right. And it just feels right. So I get up, and on this really nice pace, I do my tongue scraping and some warm water, and I do a meditation and sometimes like a yoga stretch. And then when it's not pouring rain, I'd love to go outside. And I've been walking these last month. What is it actually? two months? Something.
Yeah. It's just been since January. Yeah, February, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And my dogs don't know what happened because they get these really nice morning walks as well. So they benefit from this too.
Wonderful.
It's amazing. And it has a meditative quality on its own, and just being in nature and being out there with the sun coming up.
And that's really important for yourself, for your constitution, but also for your work, that you're grounding, you're holding space for others, you're giving to others, you're getting a lot of energy in your sessions, and some of them can be quite emotional, I can imagine. And so we have talked about that, and you grounding post session and making sure you're clearing your energy too is really important.
Yeah, and this morning routine really helps me also then the day's already started, but to start my day from a different energy, from a different...
Yeah. Great. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Linda. That's wonderful. And before we finish up here, do you have anything else you want to share, or any advice or tip that you'd like to share that you've learned on your journey?
Well, I think I underestimated to an extent how the emotional journey through this was going to be. And that obviously can be very personal because things were coming up for me. But I would just almost want to say to everyone who's going to go through it, make sure that you have the space, that if there's things that emerge, that you can actually allow it to be there and be with that. And the journaling was really helpful. I actually reread my journal before we went into this talk, and it was nice to see there was so much going on, but it wasn't overwhelming. I could just really give that space, stay with that, and also connect to you about some of the stuff. I had my own therapy as an addition. That was really helpful. I also did the acupuncture.
That's right. Yeah, that I recommended that for you because I felt it was good. Yeah,
to support the cleanse. So I felt I did it myself, but I definitely didn't have to do it alone. And that for me was in itself kind of a reparative experience as well.
Yeah. I feel like, during the cleanse, like I like to feel like it's like teamwork with the people I'm working with, that, we're in this together, and it's important to provide support. And absolutely. The cleanse is not just a physical cleanse. It really is an emotional cleanse as well. So that's important to keep in mind. But, it has been a pleasure to support you on this journey and to see your progress. Like for me, watching somebody go through the journey with Ayurveda is fantastic. And it's wonderful to hear
the changes made in your life, but also in your work, which is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for me at this point, it's still helpful because I chose to do the 45-minute consultation.
Yeah, so now you're continuing with this support and accountability. Yeah, so the 45-minute sessions to check in.
Yeah, so to not just do the cleanse and then stop and then completely kind of break contact, but just to have over the next period of time, have some possibilities to stay in touch and to keep on track.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly doing great. You're really committed to the process. You've seen a lot of shifts already, and it's a journey with Ayurveda. You know, as you go through the seasons and as you go through different shifts in your life, it really is a journey. And I appreciate you, taking the time and the commitment to it, because you've really reaped the benefits as a result. So well done, you.
Thank you. And I'm really happy with my new cookbooks. So I have some great recipes, so some new inspiration. So that's also nice.
Great. Yeah. Well, Linda, again, thank you so much. I look forward to continuing to work with you. And thanks again for sharing your story with us.
You're very welcome. And thanks so much for your support.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Linda, and don't forget you can experience your own Digestive Reset Cleanse with my upcoming discounted group cleanse starting April 19th. We'll go through it as a group, although it still is an individualized, tailored cleanse to you, because you still receive a 90-minute one-to-one online consultation with me, and the group provides the accountability and the support. And of course, if that date of April 19th does not work for your schedule, you can choose a private cleanse, same structure. You just have me one-on-one for support, and most importantly, you get to choose your own dates. So check out the links in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. For the April 19th group event, go to the events page, and then for the private programs, go to the programs page. And I hope to connect with you there. If you haven't already followed or subscribed to the podcast, please do so. And the free weekly episodes will automatically download for you. And if you feel like you're getting lots of benefit from this podcast, I would really appreciate you taking the time to give me a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast, because that will help others to find this important information on Ayurveda. You can find me on social media under Elements Healing and Wellbeing on Facebook, and my new Instagram page is Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.